All right, that means that you have finished identifying legs and the hypotenuse of right triangles, and now we're going to use that information to find missing sides. So here is another image. It is a right triangle. We know this because of this cube right here. So that is our right triangle, our right angle, our 90-degree angle, which means these two other angles have to be acute because the interior angles of a triangle add up to 180. So in this right triangle, I'm going to give you some values. I'm going to let you know that this side right here is going to be 4 units, and this side right here will be 3 units. So far I have 2 of the 3 sides, but we're looking for what this side is. We'll call that x. Again, our unknown side we'll use as x. So if I'm using the Pythagorean theorem, which, a quick reminder, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, I still need to use the knowledge of what a and b represent and what c represents. So a and b, those variables or those values are going to be the legs of the triangle. That's why we reviewed which part of this triangle are the legs. C has to be the hypotenuse. So when I look at the right triangle I'm given, I have to determine whether 3 and 4 or x are the legs or the hypotenuse. So I'm going to identify A, B, and C. So I look at where my right angle is, and I notice the 2 sides of the triangle that actually form the right angle are 4 and 3. What that means is that 4 and 3, doesn't matter which one's A and which one's B, they're both legs, would represent your A value and your B value. And then our unknown, our x, is going to be our c value, and it's directly across from our right angle, which means it is in fact the hypotenuse. So I'm going to use my Pythagorean theorem, and then I'll do the arithmetic to get me there, to find the measure of that missing side. So I'm going to substitute my values into my Pythagorean theorem. A is represented by the value of 3. So I'm going to plug in A as 3, keep our squared, plus b in our case was 4 squared equals, now I have c squared, which is the missing value. So I could put x there, I could put c there. It's up to you what variable you choose. We'll keep it c squared just to keep it looking like what we have. So, and again, I wasn't able to plug anything in there, so we'll leave that as a blue c. So all I've done so far is substituted the values I have of my right triangle into my Pythagorean theorem. Now it's time to do some math. 3 squared is going to give me 9. Remember, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 4 squared, 4 times 4 is 16, is equal to c squared. And remember, you're working backwards of the order of operations, which is why we took care of our exponents first. I can't do anything with c squared yet, but I can add up my like terms together. 9 plus 16 is going to be 25, is equal to c squared. And then the inverse of squaring a number, we talked about this in class with our distance formula, would be finding the square root. So the square root of 25 would be 5, and the square root of c squared, if I have 2 c's, would be ac. So I have figured out that c is going to be equal to 5. And what that means for this triangle is that this side, which is labeled as x, is equal to 5 units. So we just used our Pythagorean theorem, plugged in our values appropriately, and we were able to find our missing value. So that is what happens when I'm given 2 legs and I'm looking for the hypotenuse. So we're going to change this up. We're going to look at and see if I'm given different values, how I would find this. I'm going to keep the same image, which means that that's still A, B, and this would be my side C. And I'm going to give you some new values. What if we knew that this leg was 5 units and the hypotenuse was 13, but I was looking for what A was. So this is what I'm looking for, my unknown. I'd have to follow the same procedure, but I have to make sure I'm substituting the appropriate number into the appropriate spot. So if I'm looking at A squared, A is my unknown. So since A is my unknown, I have to keep A as A squared. I can't substitute a value into that because I don't know what that side is. That's what I'm looking for. Plus B. B can be replaced by the measurement of 5. squared, is equal to c, in this case our hypotenuse directly across from our 90-degree angle is 13, so this would be 13 squared. So I'm going to follow the same steps of solving equations. Let's take care of our exponents first. A squared is going to stay a squared because I don't know what that value is. That's what I'll take care of at the very end. Plus 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25, equals 13 squared. So 13 times 13 is 169. So far all I've done was taking care of my exponents in this case, and now I have a two-step equation. Inverse operations, I can subtract 25 on both sides. And 169 minus 25 is going to be 144. And I'm going to bring down my a squared. And my last step would be to find the square root on both sides. And so a squared, the square root of that would be a. And the square root of 144 is 12. So what I found is that this side right here, this x, is going to be equal to 12 units. And that makes sense because we already identified a and b as the legs, and the legs 5 and 12 are definitely shorter than the hypotenuse, which is measuring at 13 units. So again, on this part of the Google form, you'll have a couple of questions to fill out using your Pythagorean theorem, and then you'll submit that, and then the next section is the daily 3, and you're done for the day. So I will see you guys on Wednesday.